You are tuned in live to Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. We are recapping an Iowa victory and a good Iowa victory, a road victory for the Hawks, 83-67. I'm going to try to get my lighting a little bit, there we go, a little bit more natural. Coach, good to see you on this fine evening. It's always better to see your face after a game like this.
Yeah, terrific win. Road wins are always a blast. It's going to be a fun plane ride home.
I want to say this before we get to the ins and outs of this game and we get to people's phone calls. And we have one phone line open. The number, of course, at the bottom of your screen, 515-635-1601, but unlimited lines by clicking the link in the description below where it says join the show. So you can click on that link and join and talk with Coach Close and I. But, Gary, I just want to say this before we get to anything else. And Chris Murray was spectacular. The balance offensively was as the game went on, just that seems to be a trend with this team, just the balance offensively, something we haven't seen in recent years. I love watching Tony Perkins play basketball.
Yeah,
can you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, especially on the road, you need your guards to play well, handle the ball well, not turn over, make plays when they're needed. And you can just see his confidence growing. It's just each and every game he's getting more and more confident, making more and more plays. And like I said, when you're on the road, you need good guard play, and he was really good tonight.
Is there anybody that you can compare him to that maybe you coached or at Iowa or Wisconsin?
Well, a number of players. I think, Jordan Taylor was that type of player, strong and able to finish. And he's one that pops into mind. They mentioned on the telecast, Andre Woolridge from Iowa, and there are some similarities there in terms of being able to finish around the rim and making good decisions. So he played a lot of minutes tonight, and I don't know how many turnovers he had. It wasn't very many, and he did a terrific job of getting to the rim and finishing, and so a really strong performance.
Just 2 turnovers for Tony on the night, and what I found interesting as this game went on, and we can talk about lineups, but correct me if I'm wrong, we saw Tony Perkins and Aaron Eulis out there together, and Tony was running the show at that point. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, for the most part. I mean, Aaron had the ball a few times. Maybe that's when he was out. Tony wasn't out very much, but yeah, for the most part, he was definitely handling the ball.
That just, I mean, you talk about confidence in Tony Perkins. He's never really started a game. I guess I have to go back to the last season. Did he start any games at point guard? I don't think he did, even late in the year. I think it was J-Bo the whole way.
Yeah, it could have been. I know there was a time there where they took J-Bo off the ball and didn't last long. But, yeah, probably not.
I just find that interesting that the confidence that Fran is showing Tony for a road game, a tough environment. And, yeah, I think the 2 turnovers, we've talked about this team collectively not turning the ball over. Now, Seton Hall, on the other hand, they can't not turn the ball over.
Right. Right.
What went wrong for them? They turned the ball over 20 times against was it St. Peter's the other day, and they turned the ball over a bunch tonight. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but
Yeah.
what was going wrong with their offense?
Well, I think, part of it is it's just a young team with a young coach. I think, Iowa's more experienced from a playing standpoint as well as a coaching standpoint, and it showed in terms of how they handle the ball. And I think Seton Hall just, forced the ball into areas that were not open, tried to leave their feet, make plays, which can lead to turnovers, no look passes, tough passes. And when you're playing a team that's in pretty good position, then they just gobble those up. And turnovers were a big part of the win tonight, along with getting to the free throw line. It was, and I think both areas are evident of Iowa being more disciplined, more experienced, well coached. And I think it was evident. How good is Seton Hall? I don't know. They're young. Their coach is young. They're doing this for the first time. Maybe as it goes down the road, they'll improve. They got some talent, but they're trying to find their way, and a good experienced team took advantage of it.
I have noted here, Gary, first 5 minutes of the game came out flat, struggled to rebound, weren't great defensively. They go to the under 16 timeout. I don't believe that was a timeout prompted by Fran. You may tell me I'm wrong, but they have the under 16 media timeout. And from then on, they go on a 19-3 run, and they never really look back. What were your thoughts on the opening minutes? And I actually thought maybe that might be a time where Fran, there's times where he loses it, with his team. There's times where he kind of just takes things calmly. I didn't see any ranting and raving from Coach McCaffrey. What do you think was said in that timeout?
Well, it's early, and I think he probably reemphasized the things that they've got to do to be successful. I think, it's your first road game of the year, and so you can understand where you might be a little off cue and get settled down and get back to what we do well. And that's exactly what they did, and that's what experienced teams do. Seton Hall comes out, the crowd's all jacked up, and they're excited and playing hard, and they did a nice job of getting on the glass. They got some offensive rebounds, but a good experienced team settled down and got back to what they're doing well, and that's what you wanted to see.
Chris Murray, let's just talk about him for a moment, and we got a couple people who are waiting to chat with you, Coach. But I'm going to scroll the numbers across the bottom line here. Chris Murray with 29 points and 11 boards. He was kind of a one-man show early, and kind of the guy that got them back when they were down 10-2. And of course, defense was huge in that stretch. They started rebounding better. Mm-hmm. But Chris started to look a little bit like Keegan. I don't mean to make, we're going to be making those comparisons. That's just a natural thing to do. But what'd you see from Chris in the first half? Well,
you want your, we talked about guard play on the road. You also want your better players to step up, especially when you're in a tough patch. And that's exactly what he did. And he was under control and didn't force things, and, made some big plays and got him back in the game quickly, and then kind of took over. So I think it's just another example of a more experienced, talented player. We had more experience, a little more talent. And as the game went on, that was more and more evident.
All right, let's add James to the mix. James, welcome back to the show.
How are you doing? I mean, obviously they won, so we're all doing better.
Doing pretty good, James. How are you?
I'm good. It was a tough game at first to watch for the first 4 minutes, like you said.
Yeah, not a great start. 10-2 down.
And
early.
I guess I'm gonna be honest, I was wrong with the rebounding thing, because it did look like early it was gonna hurt us, but I said rebounding might kill us. It didn't as much this game as I thought it would. But Rebraca also played a lot better than it would.
Well, let me just say this. Rebraca did play well, but Gary,
is solid. Yeah, he played real well. He played a lot of minutes and got some big rebounds, did some nice scoring inside, got to the free throw line. He was very strong. He played he was the best post player out there. I don't think anything was close. And he's gaining confidence as well. You can just see it. So that's good news, because obviously we need him.
I will say this, Gary. I don't believe, and I know it's a small sample size, I don't anticipate this Seton Hall team being great in rebounding. They struggled in their first two games against inferior opponents on the glass, and they still did beat Iowa in rebounding. I think it was 6-0 to start. So that Iowa kind of played even after that. But totals for the game, 40 boards for Seton Hall, 38 for Iowa. So I guess if you take away the first few minutes, Iowa did out-rebound them. But you've said that you think that might be a problem moving forward just because of maybe lack of size at the 5. We didn't see any minutes for Mulvey or Ogundele tonight. I'm guessing you were not surprised by that.
No, the bench was short. I think Fran realized going on the road that these were the 7 he had to go with to get a W, and that's the decision he made. And it's hard to fault it. It was a solid win.
I even saw them go
Patrick.
Patrick played some 5 when Robracha came out.
I think they just kind of they're almost positionless when Robracha leaves. They just obviously got to match up with their 5, but and when you run a motion and everybody's about the same height, it's not as big a deal, except on the glass, and that's where they almost got a rebound by committee to be able to hold their own.
Yeah, and then another thing I've seen too, like Tyrese Samuel, I feel like when he was in the game, it was a lot harder for us, obviously, to get what we wanted going. And then once you got in the foul trouble, it seemed like it kind of opened up a little bit more, just because like him and the KC guy were like kind of the first part they were clogging the paint, and then Murray was the only guy scoring for a little bit, and then he got in foul trouble and kind of just like everything opened back up again. They got soft.
Yeah. The ability of Iowa to draw fouls was huge. They had a wide differential at the free throw line, and again, it's experience. So they go in there, they take their time, they shot fake, they go to contact. Whereas Seton Hall kind of threw up kind of flippy shots that don't get rewarded with fouls, and it's not like they didn't penetrate. They just didn't finish and draw fouls like Iowa did, and it was a big part of the game. Iowa did a better job of staying down, not leaving their feet, not trying to block a lot of shots where you can get fouls drawn. And again, I think it goes back to one team having a lot more experience than the other, and on the road that really helps.
And then, what do you guys think about the Tony technical?
I thought it was crap. I did. I think it's crap when a guy yells and one. We saw that earlier in the year. Come on.
Yeah.
We're playing basketball.
And then
I'm sure Fran was happy to see the 3 officials that were on that game, because those are 3 primarily Big Ten officials, and there's nothing better than getting that when you're on the road. So
they did it early on.
Real quick, James, hold on. It was Kelly Pfeiffer, DJ Carstensen, and who was the third? You know?
I missed the third one, but it was a Big Ten guy.
I'm assuming that's what they're doing when in this challenge, when it's the road team gets the officiating crew.
Possibly, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why not mix and match more. What's the point of that?
It's all with the contract, and so that could very well be that the road team gets the. I mean, technically, there are not so-called Big Ten officials. They can officiate any leagues. A lot of officials want to officiate the Big Ten because it's one of the best leagues in the country. So that's where they would prefer to go. So that's why you see a lot of them on Big Ten games. But that could be a possibility.
I did not think it was a real well officiated game, Gary. Am I wrong?
I did.
That?
I thought it was.
You did think it was.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think Iowa got all the calls they needed to get. I mean, they shot a ton of free throws. I don't know what the free throw differential was, but it was a lot.
It just looked more aggressive. Like I feel like it looked like they were hand checking and stuff and like reaching a lot more than what like they actually were, because we were playing physical too. So like they were playing physical, so they really didn't call it as much as like they would have on both sides, because both were playing physical. So the hand checking they had, I felt like didn't get called as much because we were both playing physical.
I am not implying that there were a bunch of calls against Iowa, Gary. I'm actually saying both ways. I just didn't. You thought it was well officiated both ways from a bipartisan standpoint?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, it didn't jump out at me as being a bad officiated game. See, you have a problem with officials. You like to get on the officials all the time.
Listen,
it's a tough job. I didn't see anything that was really, really bad.
Okay. Early on, I was getting tired of Tim Brando and Donnie Marshall complaining about the officials.
I turn that stuff off. I don't even listen to those guys.
5 minutes into the game. Well, about 5 minutes into the game, I thought, this officiating isn't great, but I'm sure by the end of the show, you're going to convince me that it was DJ Carstensen is the second coming, because
he's a good official.
You really
he's
like
one of the
DJ
best
Carstensen.
officials in the country. He is really good. Yeah.
Give you that.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be many Big Ten coaches that don't don't want him on their game when they see him out there. So, when you get into a road game and it's a physical game, those you can get officiated games where they don't call anything. And then it really hurts teams like Iowa that are disciplined. They can get to the free throw line. So, I bet they shot over 30 free throws. And, you shoot over 30 free throws on the road. You can't be too disappointed with the officiating.
A couple more things. I see the call line just got busy. But I feel like this could be a big, obviously Duke, if we beat them, that's the biggest one you could have in your resume. But like, this could be a big one in your resume, not in the fact that I think Seton Hall is good, but the conference they play in. You know what I'm saying? The conference they're playing is deep. So, like, they could maybe pick off a Villanova. Or pick off somebody who's a topper in that conference, and that would make our win against them look better, if that makes sense when it comes down to.
I mean, the bottom line is, you just want to root for everybody Iowa plays, right? I mean, bottom line is that loss, TCU's loss to Northwestern State the other day does not help Iowa's case, and California's 0-3. But you're right. I mean, Seton Hall, to get this win on the road, Gary, I know I'm kind of stating the obvious, but how big is that come March?
It's really good. Road wins are important in that whole evaluation process. Now we'll have to see how good Seton Hall is. If they finish 8-24, then it's not going to be as big a win as if they can get themselves going. That jury's still out on that. It's a young team with a young coach, and I don't know where they were picked preseason wise in the poll. Not that those polls mean a whole lot, but I would guess they were probably somewhere in the middle to low in the pack, just from the type of teams are in that league. But anytime you go on a road against a team like it says with the caliber league they're playing in, you got to win. It's good.
I mean, before you get to like Duke, obviously you have a chance because UNO obviously is a winnable game. Clemson is probably a winnable game, and then whether you get TCU or Cal, those are probably winnable games. So maybe you get a little streak here, get some confidence, and get the guys playing well before we get to Duke.
Yep, that would be good.
Absolutely.
But it was enjoying. I was happy they won, and it's always been. When do they play UNO? Do you know, Corey? I haven't really looked at that. I just know.
I believe they play Uno on Monday of next week, Sunday or Monday of next week. I think it's the 20.
It's early. Yeah, it's early in the week because then they head down south.
Yeah,
I just didn't know because I know they play I think they play Friday, right? Like either right after the Nebraska Iowa game or before the Nebraska Iowa game.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, they play Uno on Monday.
Yeah, it was a good game, and obviously, hopefully, we can keep it going. And it was fun watching it, and I enjoy you guys taking my call.
Appreciate it, James. Thanks as always.
Thank you, James.
All right, let's get to our caller who is on the phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close, who's on the line.
Lemansky on the phone, gentlemen.
Lemansky.
Oh, he's back.
He's back. Hey, but Lemansky, look, before you start in here, I want to, I know we have other callers, but I just want to say this real quick. I want to give a shout out to Brad Van Meter down at State Farm, who's sponsoring the program. Certainly check out him and his team. They will get you a fair, reasonable rate on auto insurance, life insurance, all kinds of different insurance. You just need to call them, 515-256-6480. You can also contact Brad's team at www.bradvanmeter.com. Renters insurance, boat insurance, all kinds of stuff. Again, bradvanmeter.com. All right, Lemansky, you're on the show. Welcome back.
Well, you've reached the big time because you've got all these commercials to do, just like big time TV personalities.
Yeah, big. I appreciate the sponsors who support the show, Lemansky. I'll say that, but big time might not be.
Somebody's got to pay his six figures. Holy cow!
Thanks,
hey,
Brad.
Gary.
Yeah,
I really respect your coaching acumen, but did you know that Corey's got this black and white striped official top shirt in his closet? You're going to make him whip that sucker out for the next show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, you want me to wear? I have I did some officiating years ago, so I still have my.
That's why you critique the officials all the time.
I was doing city officiating. I didn't even make the high school level, Gary.
Oh, okay.
But I did do some officiating on the side for some part-time work, and actually enjoyed it.
You think you'd be more sympathetic?
Let me just say real quick. I'll just say this. You want to know why I stopped officiating? Because it was I didn't pay great. I'm sure the officials, even the high school level, aren't getting paid great. The reason I stopped is because there were actually people, and I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating this. There were actually people who physically threatened you.
Oh yeah.
And And I'm just like, this isn't worth it. I'm making $15 a game here. It's an hour-long game. This isn't worth it. So, anyways,
they have a hard time getting high school officials out just for that reason. That it's they don't want to take the abuse for what they're getting paid. It's just not worth it.
It isn't worth it. All right, Lemansky, go ahead.
I'll save my official story. When I was an official doing middle school games, and we had the home court, and I'll save that story for a different time, where I was accosted by the opposing referee. But we'll save that for a different show. I really like how Fran is setting up the season. He's got these guys out east tonight. He's going to go to Florida. He's going to put them in Madison Square Garden. He's going to play Duke, and then he comes home for the Big Ten Wars. And so I just got so much respect for Coach Fran and how he runs the program. And I'm a little less critical of the defense. I prefer his up-tempo style, his assist-to-turnover ratio. I like the number of ball handlers that he has, despite running an up-tempo offense. If they can gear down when they need to, like they did tonight, and kind of change the tempo, that's what Wisconsin Badgers do so well, is to dictate the tempo. But what a wonderful hard-nosed players we have, Gary. You probably got a few Badgers you could come up with pretty fast, but Perkins and Phillip, and I get a real plus on the road to have hard-nosed players. I'll listen.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially in the Big Ten when it gets real physical and the crowds are right on top of you, and a lot of times a team that can handle that physical play, whether it's rebounding or drawing fouls or finishing around the basket, being strong with the ball is going to help you be successful. So to get a chance to get on the road and go through that is big, because some teams don't do it. They play all their games at home or neutral and don't play a road game until they head into the league. So everybody's got a different philosophy, but it was nice to see them get a really good road win.
Let me just say this too, Lemansky and Gary. I've been watching Fran McCaffrey's team since day one at Iowa. I would venture to say there has not been a player, a guard, that's played for Fran at Iowa that seeks contact like Tony Perkins does. And I mean, Joe Toussaint included. Joe Toussaint was a physical player, but what is it? I mean, it's obviously a skill that you have to attain, because a lot of guys don't have it. What is that about a guy who, when he drives to the basket, he's looking for contact, Gary?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. It doesn't happen overnight. That's a skill you got to develop. You got to have some toughness. Some people don't like it, and they just fade away and don't want to get hit. And so they'll never be in a position like that. But it's getting angles. It's one thing to get contact. It's another thing to just bowl people over and get charges. It's getting angles. It's being under control. It's good body control. It's it's seeing where their arms are and getting a piece of them and being strong with the ball. If you go up there and you're weak with the ball, even if you get fouled, you very rarely get the call. You got to make good, strong, solid moves for an official to reward you with a good, solid play. And he's, you can tell he likes doing. He likes the contact, and he's got good upper body strength, and he finishes well.
What, Gary, is one of the players that you can recall that goes inside, maybe not at 6'9", but Connor's pretty good and tough down below. Perkins is awesome, but I think every game I ever played high school basketball, went for a layup and got hit, I missed every one of them. I mean, you got to really be special to. And tonight you saw him do that. The one where he dribbled a long ways in, just got hammered and put that in like he's done it all his life. What players would you give a shout out to that had that upper body strength?
Well, it's also the ability to shot fake and to pump fake and have a good base, and you go in there with a weak base, and you go in there and shoot real quick, fast shots. I've always said this, that when an official is underneath the basket and he's getting ready to make a call, if you make a move so fast, by the time, even if you're fouled, by the time it registers with the official, the player's already moved on. A lot of times they don't call it. Whereas if you slow down and take your time, now the official is geared into what's happening, and he's got a better chance of making a call. Most people in the post that have trouble play too fast and play too weak, too upright, too quick. They don't slow down. They don't gather. And, we had some great ones at Iowa. Chris Street was a terrific low post player. Jess Settle's a real good low post player. And they learned how to use their bodies and shot fake. And we always kidded Wade Lukenbill. He had about 4 or 5 pump fakes before he shot the ball because, he's 6'8" and couldn't jump. He had to get the defense at a disadvantage. And, that last one would get that guy up in the air, and then he just hang him out to dry. So it's a knack. But, the other thing is some teams coach it and some teams don't. And it's funny. A lot of times I read about teams that lose games and they say how many close in shots they missed. And if they go back and look at the tape and watch the shots, they might have been fairly close, but they weren't high percentage shots. A 4 or 5 foot shot under duress, with somebody that's straight up is not an easy shot. And so I think Philip has gotten a lot better at it. He's not 7 feet tall, so he's got to use his body. He's got to get in between the offensive player and the basket and make him shoot over him without fouling. And last year he would have fouled in those situations, and he's going to play better and better post players who get into the league. But he's beginning to grasp body position and staying down, and then he picks his spots when to block shots. Because we always said that we thought the block shot was one of the most overrated stats in the game, that you can get into foul trouble, teams get offensive rebounds. We love playing against teams that like to block shots. We just would pump fake them to death and pray to the free throw line.
And if there was any criticism, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, Gary, but if there was any criticism of Keegan last year, maybe got a bit shot block happy.
Yeah, it could be. And then you run the risk of, getting into foul trouble. And I mean, how many times do you watch? It happened to Philip tonight, not often, but one time he went for a block shot and didn't get it. He came off his man and went for the block and didn't get it. And then his guy got the offensive rebound and put it in. It happens all the time where you see guys go to block a shot, don't get it, and then the shot's missed and their guy goes in and gets the rebound. So it's when it happens, it's fun to watch, but a lot of times when it doesn't happen, it really breaks the defense down.
Anything else, Lemansky?
On the way out, I urge everybody to catch your content, Corey, on the new 6'9" athletic power forward out east. Urge everybody to check out your content, your podcast on that. I really enjoyed it. Have a good night, fellas.
Appreciate it, Lemansky. Thank you for the call.
See you, Lemansky.
Yeah, Iowa. Boy, good day for Iowa basketball, Gary. You get an ad in the 23 class, an athletic big, and so really solid win on the road. Let's get to our next caller.
That's a spot they need to fill, so that's good.
They need athleticism. They need size. Let's get to our next caller. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Tyler.
All right, so I could barely watch the game. I was at work, but I got the phone behind the counter, so saw a little bit of it. Good win on the road. I think that Seton Hall is honestly a solid team. Tough place to play. Sheen Holloway, I think, is a pretty good coach. Took that team far last year.
Sure was last year.
Yeah, for sure. And he took some of the players with him. So solid team. I think Tony Perkins played great. Rebraca great. Chris Murray great. Defense looked so much better than past years. I just wanted to know your thoughts on the bench production. Ulyss and Connor, I believe, were the only two that really played significant minutes.
Right.
Bowen barely played, which I thought was surprising. I didn't hear much about him. Josh Dix, I don't think played as well.
No,
he was in there for 30 seconds tonight.
Josh was.
Yeah. I remember him checking in, and I'm looking at the official box score. He got 29 seconds in the game.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't think Mulvey or Josh Ogundele even got in there.
No, and to your point, Tyler, DeSante had 3 minutes. Josh with 29 seconds. Aaron Eulis played 27 minutes, played a lot. Connor with 23, Peyton with 19, which was a question from somebody in the chat about Peyton Sandford. Just a tough night for him, and why didn't he see more minutes? But you mentioned, you kind of brought that up earlier, just shortening the bench on the road in their first real test, Gary.
Yeah, I think that was the whole deal, that some of those young guys just aren't ready for that type of environment yet. They got to get a little more experience, and I think Phillip has just shown that he's decidedly better than two guys behind him right now. Now, hopefully that'll change as the year goes on. But the two guys that came off the bench did a nice job. I feel very comfortable with Connor in there. He just doesn't turn a ball over. He hits open shots. He's tough. He's physical. But it'd be nice to see him add a few more to that bench. But there have been teams that have won with 7. You got to be smart. You can't get in foul trouble. Obviously, you can't get injuries, but it'd be nice to add a little more depth to that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Connor, he had a couple open looks tonight that he passed the ball away. I think he honestly is a solid shooter. He could be taking a couple more shots.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he passed up a couple, and then finally that one that was wide open, he buried. So, and that was a 3 that kind of broke it.
And I don't have his numbers in front of me, but he's been really good so far.
He's worked on his shot. It's changed. It's better.
That's one question. We did talk with Fran, and I asked him about the flop rule, because I know you and I talked about that the other day, and Fran has actually said he's happy about that rule. I know they brought it up on the broadcast tonight, and Donnie Marshall was against that rule, which is interesting, seeing the different perspectives. And I know you have a perspective on it as well, but that's one question I wish I'd asked Fran. And if I get a chance to participate in another Zoom conference with Fran, I would like to know his perspective on, Connor and his shot, because it was observed by Jess Settles. And maybe I should ask you this, Gary. Have you observed an actual tangible difference in his motion?
Yeah.
Because Jess implied that game 1.
Yeah, no, I think it's a little more, how would you say? It's a little more concise. There's less wasted motion. It looks good. It looks good, and he's shooting it. He's shooting it with confidence. So I think that's encouraging.
Can I read into this a bit? Maybe a bit of a Matt Gatens effect.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, just think, first thing that pops into my head. I know when he got hired, I thought maybe he can help Tony with his shot from 3. And tell you, there have been some guys that have improved from 3, Tony being one of them, and certainly Connor. So maybe you give Matt some credit for that. Tyler, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I heard the radio broadcast. They kept talking about Gatens was all fired up on the bench. Kept encouraging the guys, keep shooting. Just more thoughts on the center position. I mean, Rebraca, I believe he was guarding Casey and Defo almost the entire game. He's another smaller center. I'm just worried about what happens when we get into Big Ten play and play guys like Trace Jackson Davis and all the rest of the studs. And I don't know if Rebraca ends up getting in foul trouble, how solid we'll be at the depth at center.
Well, that's a real good question, because that's right now it can't be answered they'll have to go small unless those two guys step up here a little bit or play more zone. But their man-to-man's improving, so I don't know if he'll want to do that. So that'll be, he'll have to get some help. He's not gonna be able to guard those guys by himself. He's gonna have to get some help from perimeter raiding down on the post and making it difficult for him to catch it and things like that. But we'll have to wait and see. So far, he's done a great job. Obviously, the competition is going to get better, but so far things look good.
And let's just say this, Tyler and Gary, you probably agree to this. They had some of these same issues last year, and they made do. I mean, they ended up being a 5 seed in the tournament. So I mean, they can play. They figured out a way how to play small last year. They went through lumps with rebounding, which I think they're going to go through this year. Maybe not to the severity of the start of Big Ten play last year in the Cyhawk game, which was a bad showing on the boards. But I'm with you. I think you'll see a different look from them once they have to show a different look. Now, Trace Jackson Davis, Tyler, is not the biggest guy in the world. I'm more concerned with what they're going to do with Zach Edey and Cliff Amore. Those guys are, have size and skill. Zach Edey has looked unbelievable so far. Now, again, competition hasn't been great, but he looked good against Marquette. So they'll do. I mean, Gary, they did. I mean, Riley and Josh, we can't forget, they were big parts of not only the game at West Lafayette last year, but the win in the Big Ten championship game.
Well, they're going to get their time. I don't think you're going to go through the whole year and those guys not play. They're going to have to show it in practice to give the coach more confidence. But if Philip's going to get in foul trouble, and there's going to be games where that could be a problem, and they're going to get thrown in there, and we're going to have to see how they're going to do, and hopefully they'll be able to respond. Time will tell. I mean, it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Anything else, Tyler?
Just looking ahead, I'm not sure when do we play that tournament with Cal, TCU, and
It's right after
Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, so it's right. It's the next thing after Uno on Monday.
Because I know we've got Georgia Tech, Clemson, Duke still left.
Yep, and Iowa State in there too.
Yeah, Iowa State in there as well. All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Appreciate the call.
All right, rolling along here. This segment, by the way, brought to you by Iowa Floor Covering, IFC down in Bondurant. Certainly check out their stuff. Links to the sponsors, to all of our channel sponsors in the description below. But they've got some really cool deals right now for self-installation. So if you're in need of flooring, certainly check out Iowa Floor Covering down in the heart of Central Iowa. Let's add Jared, the actor, to the show. Jared, welcome back.
Hey, Corey. Hey, Coach. How you guys doing?
Hi, Jared. How are you?
Doing excellent. And speaking of excellent, it was an excellent win tonight for the Hawkeyes.
Definitely.
I came into this season very uncertain about how the departure of Keegan Murray would influence the team and the ecosystem of the starting five. But after tonight, I feel a lot better. I think they do go at least 8 deep. And would you guys agree with that? Do you think this is a more balanced team than maybe we've seen in the past?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a good question. I think we're gonna have to wait and see a little bit. The bench probably is a little shorter than it was last year at this time. With a couple of those guys hardly played. I think they played 9 guys, but really only played 7. I think that's a concern. But as I said before, I've seen teams play with 7 guys and they're fine as long as they don't get in foul trouble and don't get any injuries. Which this team is smart enough and experienced enough that they could pull something like that off. But I'm sure they're going to try to add more pieces to the puzzle as this season goes on. But this was a chance to get a good road win, and I think he was pretty confident going in that those are guys he wanted to go with to get this, and then you go back to the drawing board tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back in the past few seasons, you got Keegan Murray last year, of course, and then going the previous year, it was Luka Garza, where it was more or less just one dominant player, and then everybody else was kind of filling in the gaps. But this team, obviously, Chris is stepping up, but I also think some of those other players are filling the shoes even more proficiently than we've seen before. So I actually made the comparison for Philip Obracha to Greg Bruner, if you guys are old enough to remember that guy.
Oh yeah.
Are you old enough to remember?
Us a few times, that's for sure.
Are you old enough to remember Greg Bruner, Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. Killed us.
No, I am absolutely old enough. I mean, 2006. I mean, that was the Big Ten tournament run, Jared. That was some of my earlier memory. I was like 10 years old when that happened, Gary. But I do remember Greg Bruner. I don't think Philip has acquired the rebounding prowess that Greg had yet. And Greg was
a phenomenal athlete. I mean, he could really run and jump and physical. Yeah, he was a heck of a player. But I'll tell you, Phillips improved. He's a better basketball player, and hopefully that'll keep happening because looks like he's going to get a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't really have a true big man in that typical sense, but Phillips filling in that role, I think, as best he can. And with the people surrounding him, I do feel like this team is more balanced. I do think they have greater potential, and most most interesting to me was the defense tonight. I really felt like the defense showed leaps and bounds improvement, and they got their hands in passing lanes. They got steals. They got better rebounding. So I don't know if you guys noticed that as well, but for me, that was an excellent performance on the defensive end.
I just think.
Yeah, I agree. I think they were solid. I think they did a real strong job of making it difficult for them to score on most possessions, and they can build on that.
And Gary Toney is. We talked about what he does on the offensive end, but really his calling card as a freshman. What got him on the court early was his ability to defend, and he hasn't really gotten burned too much trying to jump in passing lanes. Doesn't seem like, but he does have a knack for that, and he's got a knack for steals. I don't know how many steals he's averaging on the season, but he's got quick hands and long arms. I mean, all those things have to help you when you're defending quick guards, correct?
Yep, no doubt. Yep. He's got all the makings of being a real good defensive guard. He's quick, he's strong, he anticipates well. Looks like he likes to play it, so he can be. It's just up to him how good he wants to be at both ends of the court.
Anything else, Jared?
No, not at all. I just final shout out to Fran McCaffrey for no technical fouls. That was nice to see as well. So that's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
A lot of season left. Thanks, Jared.
Thanks.
All right. I do want to. We had drill MVP who was waiting on hold, and he jumped off. So maybe he got depressed over that loss last night to the Spartans because he's a Kentucky fan. And
okay.
That was a double over. Did you watch that game?
I did. That was a nice win for Michigan State.
It was. They could easily have a win over Kentucky and Gonzaga had they not.
They could. Yep.
Against the Zags.
It was real impressive win.
All right, a few comments here in the chat I wanted to get to. RDHV says, Coach Close, do you think this win is a sign of bigger things to come for this team? Years past, team struggles coming back from cold starts. Another cold start tonight. Your thoughts, Gary?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's it's a little early to tell. You can only play the teams that are on your schedule when they're on the schedule. It's a road win against a Big East team. How good they are, I don't know. They're young. They got a new coach. They could turn out to be a really nice team. Then it'll be an even better win. But I like the win. I think it's a good, solid win at this early in the year at a tough place against a team that has potential. So they just got to build on it.
And ZJ bringing up Rebraca reminds him a little bit of a Russ. Is it Russ Millard? I don't remember. Millard. Okay.
You don't remember Russ Millard?
Well, I was 10 when Greg Bruner was playing here, Gary. What do you? Come on. Hey,
you better go back and take a look.
When I saw this, I Googled Russ Millard, and I see he was a pretty darn good forward in the 90s. So I'm going to do research on Russ, but you didn't bring him on the show last year. You'll have to.
Where is he? Out of Cedar Rapids. Well, you know what? We'll get him on the show this year.
There you go. Where is he living around here now?
He lives in the Chicago area. He grew up in Cedar Rapids. Went to Cedar Rapids, Washington, I believe. And yeah, he was a good player for us.
And did he play in the NBA? I see he got drafted.
Got a cup of coffee, but it was a brief one.
Okay.
Yep.
So is that a fair comparison from ZJ?
Yeah, that's not bad. Russ was probably a little bit more athletic, maybe a little better 3-point shooter. I think Phillips a little bit better around the rim maybe than Russ is. But yeah, no, that's a real good comparison. I think that's right. That's spot
on. Lemansky says, congrats coaches Eldridge and Mac. Oh, McCaffrey. Okay. Land commitment from 6'9" power forward. Yes, Dembele. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. And so I saw a question here. Someone else, James, brought up him. I did produce a video on him earlier. 7-minute video based on highlight film. But certainly he's something that, as you alluded to earlier, Gary, not only fills a need with his size, but he also fills a need. I think they needed somebody who was athletic. I'm not saying that Price Sandfort can't be a good defender or even Brock Harding or Owen Freeman, but he gives you something athletically that I think will help this class. And they've got 4 now. I think that probably takes care of the class. They probably would be willing to go after 1 or 2 more. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to the portal again at the end of this year. But we just started this season, so we don't have to look forward too much. But a good ad for Iowa today. Eric brings up, ask Gary if he remembers the annual Amana Hawkeye Classic we hosted for years.
Oh yeah, that was a great.
Is that at
great
the golf
classic? Yep.
Okay.
Early in December. Yeah, we'd bring 4 teams in, and we had some good teams, some great coaches. Paul Westhead coached in that classic. A number of great coaches. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Okay, let's get to our next caller who is on our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close, who's on the line.
Hi, this is Ryan from McGregor. How are you, Corey?
Good. How are you, Ryan?
Oh, not bad. I had a call in tonight. I'm sorry. I'm behind in the telecast. I'm listening in past time here, so forgive me. I need to talk to Coach Close and come clean with him. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I always do.
Hey, Gary. I have to share a story. I'm using an alias on this site, and that's not my real name. And I lived in Madison from 1991 to 2002. And I was director of tour operations at Badger Coaches. And while I was there, I had the privilege of being asked to go out to like 4 Lakes and pick up different teams and shuttle them around Madison. So in my travel career, I've been to over 119 Division I schools and stadiums. And I've served, I don't know how many coaches. I met Bobby Knight, Judd Heathcote, all these guys, and had conversations with them. And I was really calling just to, first of all, come clean. That's how I know Barry Alvarez. That's how I know Bo Ryan, was because I transported them. I was their driver when I, when I did that for a living. And I'm a little nervous here, but anyway, I didn't want to break into the program here because I don't know where you're at, but I had to ask, how does an Arizona State University grad, who I figured once he went there would never leave Rocky Point, end up in Middleton? So my wife's been cattle prodding me to call you and ask you that. And I had to look it up. And so I was surprised that that's where you graduated from. So I'll hang up, shut up, but that's who I am and what I did. And that's why I know all about this. I mean, when I met Bobby Knight, when you come to Madison, you always want to go to Smokey's Club for steak. Never left town without stopping there. When I get on the bus, he gives me an IU hat, and he says, "Tom, you can sit on the bench, you just can't try to coach." Sorry, I didn't know my first name, but anyway, that's a true story. I mean, I got hundreds of them, but
I bet you do.
Really kind of entertaining. But I'm breaking in the program. I don't know where you're at, and I'm not trying to diss the other callers or listeners and get off track. But I had a call in and fess up. I didn't know about Ray LaFrance because I wasn't living here then. I was in Mass. So anyway, there you go.
Appreciate the call, sir. Thank
you.
For that.
Well, you got to have a good busty, man. If you don't have one of those, it makes road trips a lot more difficult. So sounds like he was one of the better ones.
That's awesome. Great to hear stories like that too. And Lemansky's story the other day, I enjoyed it. It was a little long. I'm not criticizing Lemansky for that, but Lemansky knows we mean well. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line? Nobody there. All right. Phone line is open, folks. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Of course, you can join by StreamYard by means of the link in the description below. Okay. Let me see here. I know we had a comment from Eric. 28 for 33 from the free throw line, Gary. Can you do any better than that? I mean, obviously, if it's possible.
Much. No.
On the road.
33 free throws, a lot of free throws. And what did they shoot? I bet they didn't.
I can tell you.
I bet they didn't get, they might have gotten 15. I don't know. Maybe
they were 11 of 13.
Wow. So you have 17 points at the free throw line.
Are you at all implying that the officiating was slanted towards Iowa, or do you think it was fair both ways?
No, I didn't. I thought the officiating was good. No, I think the big reason was Iowa finished better around the basket. They were the more experienced team in terms of how you score and how you draw fouls around the hoop. I thought Seton Hall took a lot of, I'm not going to call them wild shots, but off balanced, not real physical shots that very rarely get rewarded with a foul. And they left their feet more. When you leave your feet, you're in trouble for getting fouls called. And Iowa did a good job of getting them off the ground and took advantage of it.
I appreciate the 240 people who are on right now. Please remember to hit the like button. If you're here, please just scroll down for a moment and hit the little thumbs up. It does help us out immensely. We had a question that I just let me bring it back here. Oh, it's gone. Why didn't Josh Ogundele play more? I mean, that was the question. I mean, Coach, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. I would just say he's not ready. That Phillip was playing well, and I think Fran felt this was the group he had to use to get himself a win, and then, like I said, go back to the drawing board, see how they're developing, and maybe the game against Omaha will offer an opportunity for him to play more, and then he's got to produce. And if he does, then a few more minutes come, coach get a little more confidence, and that's kind of how you get yourself in the rotation. But right now, Phillip's playing so well that it's hard for him to get out of the lineup.
Let's get to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close. Who's on the line?
This is John Murray from Sulphur Springs. I'll let you guess where that's from in Iowa.
Sulphur Springs. I was going to say there's a Sulphur Springs down in Texas. I don't know. Sulphur Springs, Iowa?
I don't know where that is.
Yeah, Sulphur Springs in Iowa. Actually, it's a village, but it's up in Buena Vista County.
Where's Buena Vista County?
That's up northwestern part.
Seriously?
Listen, there's 99 counties. You don't know where Buena Vista County is, Gary. Don't give me that.
Yeah, it's up northwest, right?
He just said that because he just said it's up in northwest.
Oh, I told him before he said it. We used to do camps up in Buena Vista. All right.
What's the college? Buena Vista College. Now, you can't call it Buena Vista. You have to call it Buena Vista.
Buena Vista, my bad. That's my Jersey accent coming through.
Come on, Gary.
Anyway, so I had a question for Coach Gary. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
We played 7 players tonight. They played very well. Thank God for the McCaffrey boys. The question is, in the Big Ten, we're going to need 1 or 2 more. Who are they? Where are they going to be coming from? Where are we going to get those guys?
That's a real good question. I don't know if I can answer that. There's guys out there. In the backcourt, it's the freshman Bowen. And then up front, it's going to be, one of those 2 big guys. I think that's pretty much it, along with the shooting guard. Name escapes me right now.
Josh Dix.
Yeah, Josh Nix. I think from those 4, that's where you're going to get a couple more. That will be something to watch. We'll see if some of those guys can emerge. It doesn't surprise me. It's your first road game. It's a physical team. You go with your experienced player. So I'm not surprised at all. And I don't think it's a slight on the guys that didn't play. It's just they got to keep working and getting better, and they'll get their opportunities. They got to take advantage of it.
I totally agree. You got to play them on the road against a good team. Totally echo all that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I love the show. That's all I was wondering. I really like how Fran is coaching this team up and, developing this team. So I feel they're going to get at least 1, maybe 2 more. And who knows, he might surprise us again with an 11-man roster, but I don't see it this year.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think that's a good question.
Well, one more thing to throw in the mix here. I was at the game down in Des Moines, the Iowa Drake women's game on Sunday, and Lisa Bluter did the exact same thing. I mean, we saw first couple of games, understandably so, against inferior competition. She was going 12, 13 deep. But then you get to the game, their first true road game, I think she went 8, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think she went 8. She had to have gone 8. But I said the same thing. Where's Edgar? Go down the list. So I think what you say is, you would obviously know, Gary, but that would be my hunch without even knowing intel on Fran's thought process is we're going to see those. I mean, Josh Dix, I don't think he did anything those first couple games that would keep him from getting minutes. And same thing with DeSante Bowen. Bowen had a drive inside that he missed a layup, but I mean, I didn't see anything from him that was egregiously bad. Just maybe
no, he had a couple tough plays that he didn't deliver. If he had delivered, maybe he would have gotten a few more minutes. But sometimes it's a quick hook when you're on the road. You gotta step up and make a play, and it's hard to fault. It was a real good win. That was I'm not gonna say it was easy, but they were in control.
Well, I appreciate it. I'll hang up and I'll listen to the show. I love the show, and thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for calling.
All right. We'll run through some quick fire questions here that are in our chat. Wacky Quacky says, what did the Hawks do to shoot better in the second half? Both teams shot better, but what did Iowa do specifically, Gary, that you saw?
That's a good question. I think they got more penetration. I think they got more shots around the basket. Obviously, if you get fouled, you're going to score points without hurting your shooting percentage. So I'm going to guess that's probably. I think their shot selection was a little bit better in the second half. Maybe a little more patient. I mean, they had a little more penetration and had a lot of point blank shots that they did a great job of finishing on.
So this actually surprises me. Iowa ended up shooting 33% from the field in the first half. For a while, it was in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And then second half, Iowa shot.
I've been in the 60s.
Let me find it here. I think you're right. 56% in the second half. So, yeah, for the game, they ended up, what does that add up to be?
40s.
Yeah, 25. I'm going to do the math in my head. 25. So, yeah, 43, 44%.
Yeah, not bad on the road, especially with a slow start. So,
yeah, and I tweeted this out at the beginning of the game, Gary. I just kind of had a feeling that that they may go through a lull to start the game. May take them a while to get settled in. I don't know. I mean, like you said, first road
game. It's different, and it was a good environment. And even if you've done it in the past, it's a whole new ball game. So it takes you a while to that first grade. They'll be better on the road next time. I haven't gone through that. It's that's why you do them, to get experience, so that when it happens regularly in the league, you're able to handle it.
Doug wants me to ask you about his VHS tape with B.J. Armstrong's shooting clinic. He says he bought it at basketball camp in '97.
He bought it in '97. You still can buy it. It's still a bestseller, way up on the list. Yeah, B.J. and I did a shooting tape back in 1989. That's when the shorts were short, and they're starting to come back to being short again. It's been a whole evolution.
That's unfortunate.
And we did it with Des Flood, who was a great shooting coach that I got to know when I was coaching out at Stanford. And the three of us did a lot of work together. And we thought we'd put a tape together. And so we did back in 1989, 2 years ago. Wow.
Good answer to Doug's question.
I don't know if Championship Book still has it, because I've done another one since then, but it was a lot of fun.
I want to again thank Brad Van Meter down at State Farm on Fleur Drive in Des Moines. They've been in business since '99, largest auto insurance company in the country in State Farm. So certainly give his team a call and see how they can help you save money with great coverage. 515-256-6480. Call Brad Van Meter and his team for a quote. Question here from let's see. I just missed it here. Freedom Liberty says, what did Tony yell? Yeah, he was yelling and won. He yelled it. It looked like he was facing the opponent, right? I mean, if you want to call that taunting, okay. And then he yelled it at somebody in the crowd. So maybe you said this earlier and I already forgot. Do you believe that that's a technical that's warranted? Do you like that?
Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have much.
It was an and one, by the way. It was an and one.
Yeah,
foul. I mean,
they're probably instructed, and maybe one of their points of emphasis that the last thing they want is something to get out of hand with fighting and crowds and stuff like that. It's just they don't want it. So you nip it in the bud. So Tony, act like you've been there.
John Nelson, appreciate this comment from John. Enjoying this stuff from the Bay Area in California by way of Muscatine. Guessing that what's the weather like up in your neck of the woods right now, Gary?
We got a little snow.
A little bit.
We got about 4 inches on the ground. Yep.
It's about what we got. It's miserable stuff.
Yeah. Winter's here. It's basketball season now. Winter's here, and yep, gonna deal with it.
Steve wants to know, could we see Chris rotating to the 5 if Philip gets in trouble?
Probably.
I don't think Kenyon wants that. Kenyon commented, I remember Kenyon making a comment. I don't think it was when he was on this show, but maybe it was on Twitter, that he did not expect Chris to play the 5 this year. And I don't know if that's because, just projecting forward what's best for Chris moving forward, but I don't really know that Kenyon makes that decision.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on who it is. I mean, they're probably not going to put him on a guy that can get him into foul trouble.
Sure.
They don't want that. So, it might be kind of thing where he plays the 5 offensively and somewhere else defensively. But, in Fran's system, the 1 through 5 is not that big a deal, other than your point guard handling the ball. Other than that, it might be whether you initially line up. But the way they run that motion offense, you're all over the place anyway. So it's more with the defensive matchups, and that's where they could get into trouble if Philip gets into foul trouble.
Michael says Iowa lost to Nebraska Omaha back in 16-17. That was a young team. Yes, they did lose to Nebraska Omaha.
Wow.
Bad loss.
I remember that.
I do, and I believe that might have been. I could be a year off. That might have been the same year they lost to Augustana in their exhibition.
Iowa did.
They did.
Wow.
And that was a good team. I mean, that was
Augustana was well coached. That was a real good program. I can't think of the guy's name right now.
National championship team, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, he was a very good coach. Greg Giovanni.
Right. Okay. Do you remember that name?
Very, very, very good coach. Who used to work with Lute Olson way back in the day.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to grab Uno's info to finish this thing off. I don't have any callers on hold here, so last call on the phone lines before we wrap this thing up. John wants to know, is Chris Murray as talented as his brother, Gary?
I think he's got a chance. We're probably saying the same thing about Keegan this time of the year last year. So he's on the right track. He's just got to keep getting better. And that's what Keegan did. He just kept getting better and better and better. And I think there's a great chance that he can do that. It would not surprise me. That's for sure.
And he does seem to be, I mean, this is, I would say this is the challenge for any player like Chris, who's trying to get over the hump and become a great player as opposed to a good player. But consistency is what it boils down to, right? Because we saw him even last year with Keegan on the floor. I mean, I remember their game at home against Indiana. I think he had 29 points, was his career high. So he's shown flashes. He's shown the ability. What did Keegan do last year? And what do you do as a player who's got that in them to become consistent? Is it a matter of just grinding every day in practice and eventually it'll pay off? Or is there something in particular maybe you saw Keegan do last year that got him over that hump?
Yeah, I think it's like an evolution of just getting better and getting more confident. And, he'll realize now that he's going to get their best defender, whereas last year he didn't, because they went to his brother or somebody else. And so he's going to be the number one topic on every scouting report when they play Iowa. And he's going to be the focus on, their defensive game plan will probably start with him. And so with that comes, his ability to keep improving, keep adding things to his game. And I think he will. I think he's off to a terrific start, a lot like what his brother did last year. And let's enjoy the journey, because it could be really fun to watch.
And I think it's pretty clear he's probably gone after this year, whether he ends up being a lottery pick or not. So when you say enjoy the journey, there were people that doubted Keegan last year that he would leave and be a lottery pick, and boy, he sure did.
And he's playing well. I mean, he's proven that he was, that was a good spot for him to go. He's he's a talented player. So everybody evolves at different rates, and so that's why you don't want to pigeonhole anybody. Just let them go, let him grow, and I think he will. I think he's a determined, hardworking player that's only going to get better.
Kyle says, not to get off topic, Corey, but Caden Proctor was just predicted to flip to Oregon on 247. Is there any intel on the situation? I provided my only intel. This is the only source that I have on the situation earlier today on the channel. It is what it is at this point. You're just going to have to wait. People are just going to have to wait and see on this situation. And I know it's football, Gary, and that's not necessarily your repertoire, but
you got me on that.
We're concerned about what 17-year-olds are going to do with their future, Gary.
Yeah, it changes from day to day, minute to minute.
Yes, it does. And NIL only complicates things. I'm not saying that's the primary motivation for Caden, but that's just changed the recruiting landscape in general. Kurt says, Corey, would be awesome if you could convince some former Hawks from way back in the day on your show, Greg Stokes, Michael Payne, Steve Carfino, Bobby Hansen, Mark Gannon, etc. Well, Kurt must be somewhat new to the channel, Gary, because, boy, you did a kick butt job last year.
He missed him last year, but he'll have to stay tuned, see what we can come up with.
Amen. Eric says, Coach, what is the one biggest area of improvement potentially you see this early in the season to help them later in the year?
That's a real good question. Well, I think I like the way they finished around the basket. When you get into tough games, your ability to get to the free throw line and get to the basket and get quote unquote easier shots is really important. You just can't live and die with perimeter shooting, which I think they're going to be good at. So their offense looks to be maybe a little more multi-dimensional in the ability to score inside as well as out. But as I've always said, they're only going to go as far as their defense takes them. I don't think they're going to have a problem scoring. They never have. It's going to be like every team. If you want to win championships, you got to stop people, and that's going to be that'll be the kicker to watch. Not only with Iowa, but with all the teams, is how well they improve on the defensive end and get stops when their offense is struggling.
All right, we've got one final caller. This is going to have to be brief, Ryan, because we've hit our allotment of time. But let's get Ryan into the show briefly. Ryan, welcome back.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey, I just got on late, so I don't know if you covered it or not. But just after watching tonight against a very athletic, good Seton Hall team, how do you feel on a neutral court we're gonna possibly match up with Duke? Can we hang with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really haven't had a chance to see Duke play this year. I know they're young, and so I like that because I think our experience might be able to cause them some problems. But we may have to save that for the next show, and hopefully I get a chance to see Duke play between now and then. I did not see only saw just a few minutes of their game last night, so I have not seen them play. But I'm sure they're talented. I'm sure they're athletic. I know they're young. So I think what happened tonight, I think we had more experience, and that's why every time they made a run, it never felt like it was in any kind of jeopardy. We made plays, got stops, got to the free throw line. So
the Energizer Bunny took over too.
That's right. Yep. So obviously Duke is a better team than Seton Hall. But that's down the road a little bit. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see Duke play, and then we can have a better thought going in. But I know it's one that I know Iowa fans are looking forward to watching as I am. It should be a real interesting game.
Well, I have a prediction. If we have more points by the end of regulation, I think we have a good chance to win. So,
wow, you heard it, Corey, first.
Insightful and deep.
Anyway, thank you guys.
Go back and the show.
Appreciate the call. Don't be late next time.
Yeah, I had to do homework for the kids
Okay.
So
we'll let you slide then.
We'll catch you next time, Ryan.
Hey, take care, guys.
All right.
All right, Gary. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate the support from everyone. A reminder to become a premium subscriber to the channel. All the content, including our post-game shows, also daily content, my pick'em segment for college football each week, preview for Iowa football each week. My preview for Iowa, Minnesota will be dropping tomorrow. So certainly become a premium subscriber to support the channel and get some perks along the way. You can follow me on Twitter at From the Hawkeye of the Storm on Facebook as well. Please share this show out on social media. If you're enjoying the content, then fellow Hawkeyes will as well. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Please hit that like button. If you're interested in sponsoring, you can certainly reach out to me. The email is at the bottom ticker, from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. That's from the eye of the storm at outlook.com. Do want to thank the Johnny O Show for his work. He's got a YouTube channel, and he's helped kind of behind the scenes with the tech side of everything. Want to extend appreciation to him. You can shop Amazon with us if you're making purchases for friends, family, or yourself through Amazon. And so many people are doing this. I know you are, Gary.
Oh,
you're not an Amazon guy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you are? Of course,
Amazon
everybody.
guy
right?
comes to our house literally every day. I swear to God. Here he
world.
comes.
That's the world. So
answer the door. The Amazon guy's here.
So, folks, if you're shopping Amazon on a daily basis, just use the link in the description of our channel. Because when you use that link, a portion of the proceeds go to us. You can buy all the same products, whether you're buying Hawkeye gear or just daily essentials. Shop Amazon with us. Use the link in the description below. And, of course, I'll be back with you on Saturday with Coach Don Patterson following Iowa, Minnesota. Big game up in Minneapolis. The Hawks still very much alive for the West Division. Were you happy with the result this past Saturday in Iowa City, Gary?
It was a good football game. I enjoyed it very much. I was looking forward to watching it, and Iowa got a really, really good win.
Which you won't tell us if you were happy about it.
Yeah, I was happy.
I see you filibustering.
You're trying to get me in trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There's some Badger fans probably watching this show. I got to be careful.
I know. Again, Iowa, Minnesota on, I don't know why it says TBA. It's 3:00, folks. 3:00 on Saturday. I'll be live with you with Coach Patterson following the game. Yeah, Iowa defeating Seton Hall this evening, 83-67. The Hawks moved to 3-0, and they will await Nebraska Omaha Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time on BTN. So tune in on Monday and post-game coverage right here throughout the season. Gary, appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good, Corey.